All right. Hello, my darlings. I am here with a very special guest today. My friend and colleague Robin Smith is here to share her beautiful wisdom about how to master communication, which I know so many of us are wanting help with. And so, Robin is an award-winning speaker. She's a leading trauma and relationship coach for women and founder of the Rock Your Relationship movement. Inspired by her own 22-year relationship with her husband, she helps thousands of women and couples transform from being frustrated to fulfilled by creating deeper, loving, and conscious connections for greater satisfaction and happiness. And she helps her clients unwind layers of complex trauma, any dysfunctional patterns that have been interfering with their ability to enjoy the ease and harmony in their relationships with others and themselves so they can feel connected, happy, and whole. Robin, thank you so much for being here with us today.
It's a pleasure and an honor, Risa. Thanks for having me.
Yes, always love to have you here sharing all your amazing wisdom. So let's dive in. I know you have three keys that you're going to share with us to help us improve communication today. And so, what do you feel is possible when you have good communication in your relationship? And why is that important?
Yes, well, so much is possible. I've been in a relationship where there was a lot of arguing, there were a lot of power struggles. I think many of us know this experience where you don't feel heard. It's incredibly frustrating and agitating. And so we all know, I think a lot of us know that communication, when we have it, it just feels so much better. And we're all, our birthright is connection. And we are wired to be in relationships and to be close to people. And yet we don't learn the skills for how to do that oftentimes. And so much gets in the way of that, which we'll talk about soon. But when you have it, what you get is you get to feel, heard and understood and seen. And that's part of feeling connected, is when you have this healthy communication, you get that feeling connected, heard, seen, understood. And you also get to feel like you are on the same team. So if someone's hearing you, you have good communication, you're going to feel more like, all right, we're doing this together. You're not at opposition, trying to get your point across, arguing all the time. The other thing that I love about it is there's a feeling of support. Like, okay, even if we don't have to agree all the time, right, to have good communication, but even feeling like it's okay not to agree, and we're still together. We're still, learning from each other, open to what each other has to say. So there's more ease internally too. When you're not communicating well, there's work, there's frustration, like I was saying, there can be anger, sadness, all the hard feelings. But when you have it, you get to enjoy, you get to relax, you get to know that at least you're being gotten. And that feels so good to the nervous system.
So beautiful, Robin. I know it makes me sad because I feel like it's such a rare and beautiful moment when we can actually be present. Like, we're all so busy, and I know we're going to talk about some pitfalls next, but
Yes.
it's like, I think it's a rare and beautiful moment when two people can just really be present with each other and feel like they're being heard and seen. And that's why I really love all the work that you do around this, because I don't think it should have to be a rare and beautiful moment when
I agree wholeheartedly. Yes.
What would you say are some of the pitfalls that you see with your clients?
Yeah. I think this is so important. There are many, but I've pulled out my top three because they're just really common. So pitfalls in communication or obstacles, to being heard and understood would be blame, criticism, and defensiveness. And I want to break those down and just, define them a little bit for people. So when we're in blame, it looks usually like this, like there's a finger pointing, or at least energetically, there's usually a you statement. You did this, you did that, you're doing it wrong, you shouldn't have said that, why you always leave the toilet seat up, you. And so what happens is you're creating distance, you're pushing somebody away, and then somebody feels that distance and they're likely to respond with, well, you did that, a counterattack. or defensiveness. Well, I didn't do it. So again, you feel like more at opposition when you start with blame. I think criticism is kind of similar. It's going to still create that distance and that separation, that feeling of like opposition. But criticism is more like pointing out someone's fault in their character or personality. So it's not just behaviorally oriented. Now it's like, you are an idiot. You are so mean. You are thoughtless, whatever it might be, and name calling, demeaning somebody. And so criticism hurts. And when you give criticism, people are going to feel that hurt, and they're going to maybe get angry in response. Again, it's likely to escalate into an argument because it doesn't feel good.
Mm.
And then defensiveness is a common response to blame or criticism. And it's optional. We tend to, kind of just react in defensiveness. We're trying to protect ourselves. Being defensive is a type of protection. I feel like it's a wall, like, you can't hurt me. I've got protection here. We're defending our pride, our ego, our character, whatever we're defending. And we're trying not to get hurt. But it is like a pushback. So it's another way of creating distance with somebody instead of really hearing what they have to say, pulling down your guard, like recognizing and naming your part in the situation, things like that. So it is a common pitfall, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And what else do you feel like gets in the way of having healthy communication?
There's a lot, but so all of us have habits that we've picked up along the way, usually from people who, raised us. And then there's trauma, and trauma can look like, not only things that we think about, like a big accident or a death, but also, or abuse or things like that. But trauma can also be more subtle, like mom was working all the time or sick all the time, or you had 6 other siblings, so you didn't get enough attention, or you got berated all the time, maybe not physically, but verbally, what are you thinking? You're so stupid, things like that. You're not good enough, or being compared to another sibling, or your love you received was conditional. You felt the love when you got an A on your paper, but you didn't feel it when you got a C, So these types of things can create insecurities, sense of lack of self-worth. Anytime there's an environmental failure, is what we call it in the trauma world that I'm in, where a parent, a caregiver isn't giving you what you need, or somebody hurts you or neglects you, then what a child does is they take that on personally, as if it was their fault. Like, it's my fault. My parents are arguing. It's my fault. My father's in prison. It's my fault. They're getting divorced. And the child just doesn't know anything different but to take it on. So they will feel like they're not enough. There's something wrong with them. And then that comes forward into adult relationship. It gets carried forward, this notion that either I'm not enough, or I can't trust people because they betrayed me, or people are going to hurt me, so I have to hold back. And all that stuff shows up in our communication later in life. Whether you're always looking for, when's the other shoe going to drop, you're going to hurt me, I know you are, or, because you're not trustworthy, or, or we're overly defensive because we're afraid of getting attacked because we got attacked a lot as a child, or whatever. So hopefully that's making sense. There's a lot of ways that can show up, but there's some examples.
Yeah, I know that's really beautiful, deep work. That's a lot of what I do too with my clients, is just these patterns. Like, we all have our stuff, to some degree or another, that if you can become aware of them, they're really at the root of the choices we're making about our relationships, and then how we're, interacting. So yeah, that's really, really beautiful that you're able to, help people get to the root of that, and start to release some of that stuff that's really been kind of running the show.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crucial. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I know you have a few tips. What would you say are three key communication tips that you want to share to help us today?
Yeah. So these are, first two I'm going to share are very foundational to set the tone, set the stage for a healthy conversation. And so the first one is eye contact, which I'm appreciating we're having very well, even through the camera here. And eye contact shows somebody that you're paying attention, that you care enough to listen, that you're interested. Also, this nodding that you're doing, it's very subtle, but it helps me feel like, okay, you're with me, you're following me. And when someone's, talking to you, yeah, I got you, I heard what you said, yes, I'm listening, but they're looking at a device or they're driving the car, half of their attention is on the car, they're cutting vegetables, whatever they're doing, you don't get the kind of presence, like you said earlier, to feel like somebody cares, they're paying attention. And so without that eye contact, it's hard to really, you're not going to get that feeling of being seen and heard. And then, it's going to affect your communication. I know when I don't get it, I'm a little like put off. I'm a little like, now I'm trying harder to be heard because I'm like, are you with me? Or I'll just ask for it. Like with my husband, actually, I have something important I want to talk about. Can I get your full attention? I won't put up with, a distracted moment if it's important enough. And I'm not saying every moment you have to have eye contact because that's also unrealistic. But for the moments that count, for the conversations that you need to be heard and you want understanding, then you want to ask for that eye contact. Yeah. And then
It's amazing. That's beautiful. I mean, it's a simple thing, but it's so powerful to just give someone your eye contact. And I love how you're able to how you just gave us an example of how to just even ask for that for when it's something important.
Yeah, and it really is powerful, especially in this day and age when we're looking at screens all the time and we're communicating through texting and, email and phone and whatnot. We don't get enough of like, I feel you're with me, like a human being. So it's very precious to have it. Yeah. And then I always like to say too, that not everyone is comfortable with eye contact. So you might be talking to someone who can't look at you and they're looking around, and, especially like a teenager, you might think of like, oh, when are you going to be finished? But, but I also want to say, if you're the person if you're listening right now and you have a hard time making eye contact, just know that could come from early trauma. It usually does, like really early. And just to give yourself a break if that's true for you, if it's hard for you to make eye contact, we're not judging that. And to know that if you work through some of that stuff, it can get easier. It doesn't have to feel so scary to look someone in the eye. But just know that it does affect the conversation. And so you want to do your best to make some eye contact. And you can also say, if you feel comfortable with the person, I want to be able to look at you, but it's a little hard for me. So just don't take it personally, something like that. If that's an issue for you. So yeah, eye contact and all its multifaceted layers.
Yeah, that's really helpful too, because I know it's not always easy to have direct eye contact with people.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to number two.
Number two.
Consent. It's a buzzword these days, which is a good thing. Consent means you're asking for agreement about something, permission. So in this context, consent to have a healthy conversation, to have a connected conversation. So if you have an important conversation, you want to get a point across, you want to be heard, you want that eye contact, then it behooves you to make sure the other person is available for this conversation, that you're not springing it on them when they're walking in the door from work, or when they just had a really rough day, or they're exhausted and they're trying to go to sleep and you're like, I need to talk to you. So you want to do it. You want to have the conversation when someone is physically available, they're in the room, they can look at you, they're not distracted, they're energetically available, they have the energy to be present, they're not falling asleep on you, they're not starving, thinking about, getting some food. They're mentally available. They're not distracted with a million things because they've just had, a really intense day, or they're in the middle of a project or whatever it is, and emotionally available. again, they're not like already angry or in their huge grieving or whatever is going on emotionally that they can't focus. So you want to ask someone, when can we have this conversation where you can be available in these ways, and set a time aside. Is it going to be tonight at 8? I need 30 minutes, whatever it is. So that gives you the best chance of getting heard and understood and getting the kind of connection you're hoping for. So it's not as a skill as you might think about for how to communicate. It's how to create the context for the healthy communication to occur. So that's number 2.
I can see where that's really important. If you don't do that, it's almost like you're setting yourself up for failure, right?
Yeah,
It's
it
really
happens all the time. You know, I gave an example earlier in another conversation, but I've heard of this quite a bit in coaching couples where, say, one person's home all day and maybe they work from home, or maybe they're doing childcare or whatever, or they're retired, and the other is working, and they come home from work and they're like exhausted or they're stressed from what happened. And the one who's been home says, I have to talk to you. And the one who's been working says, I need some space. Like, you know, you're bombarding me right now and I just need some time, but they don't know how to communicate that. And then the other ones are like, you're never available for me. Well, you're always like attacking me when I walk in the door.
Well, you're frozen, Robin. Come back to us.
Stand.
You're okay. Now you're back.
We're back. Sorry about that. Yeah,
that's okay.
Might have been on my side. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's my side.
No
Are we
worries.
there? We're good?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, someone's coming in the door, and then there's all that.
Yeah. So just understanding that people need space, and like when we ask for the time, then we're more likely to get what we need. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay.
And what's key number 3?
Number 3 is reflective listening. Reflective listening, which you've been doing a little bit of here. When you repeat back something that you heard, you respond to something that you heard. So it's super simple and yet kind of a lost art, you know, just to simply say, oh, I heard you said, you know, consent is about this, this, and this, or whatever it might be that you're hearing. And then the person knows that, okay, you're with me, you're following me, I'm being gotten right now. Or sometimes you might say, I think I heard you say this. Did I get that right? So you're checking, and then they really know that you care enough to want to get it right, to want to understand. And it feels really good to be on the receiving end of that. And so it's a beautiful act of, you know, looking for understanding when you do reflective listening. And, you know, if someone's giving a monologue, it's even more important because there's a lot of content there and you want to make sure you're following. You may have to interrupt to offer that back. But in any case, it really helps people feel connected. So that's why I put it in this top 3 here.
Yeah, really, you know, it sounds like 3 really powerful tips, 3 simple things, but even like that last one, I can see where just having someone reflect back to you, you know, in that language, it does make, it's really validating, like, okay, I know you're here. I really know you're hearing me. Like, I can think you're hearing me. You're making eye contact. You know, we've set up the context, so you know, we're present with each other. And now for you to be able to reflect back to me, like, I know, I really know you're hearing me.
Yeah.
And you're getting it. So beautiful, really beautiful, 3 powerful tips. And I know you have an amazing free training coming up, Robin, with lots more to share. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I love this training. I call it the Rock Your Relationship Communication Training, and it is for women. And it's a 4-day training this time. And I just give a ton of value each day. You're getting skills, really communication techniques beyond what I've given here. So different techniques where you can implement them each day. And I ask you to go do like a little assignment, go try that out with a person in your life, bring it back to the group, let us know how it went, ask a question or ask for help. And so people are learning a lot and they're changing their behaviors right there in the 4 days. And I've seen incredible results. Women will come back and say, I finally got heard by my teenage daughter, or my husband gave me a hug and he said, I really get what you're talking about. So it really makes a difference when you show up live and you interact and you do the practices that I'm offering, you will get results. It's powerful. So it's totally free and it's starting soon. And there's a link I know you're going to put here under the video, and people can click on that and join me. Yeah.
Oh,
And it's
thank you
on
so
Zoom.
much, Robin, for
Yeah.
doing that. I know that's an incredibly valuable training, and I know it really does help to. I love that you're having it be experiential so people can actually practice the skills, because it's one thing to learn them, but it's another thing to just get comfortable and practice them a little bit.
Yeah.
So
It's
really powerful.
night and day when you actually implement the
Mhm.
skills. And I'm giving prizes, which is fun. So that encourages participation. You show up, you might get a prize. And there's a grand prize of $2,000 for someone who has the like super committed participation. So that's fun. Huh?
Rob,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Very exciting. Y'all take advantage of this opportunity to jump on live with Robin and soak up all her amazing help with communication, all completely free. Thank you so much. It's so generous of you, Robin. And any other last little bits of wisdom or encouragement you want to leave us with before we let you go?
For sure. I always, suggest that when you're being a beginner in something, like whether it's with the tips I just gave today, or you come to the training, is to be gentle with yourself, because we can be like perfectionists and like, I should have gotten that the first time. I did it wrong, darn it. And we can be really hard on ourselves, and it doesn't help anything. So my encouragement as you're learning, whether it's from me or Risa or anyone else, is to be gentle with yourself as you're learning, as you're experimenting with new tools, to be kind to yourself, to let yourself mess up and learn from your mistakes and keep trying and practicing, because we all can learn this stuff and change our lives with it. So
Beautiful. Thank you so much. All right, everybody, go ahead and click that link and definitely take advantage of this opportunity to up-level your communication skills and your connection with people and ability to be seen and heard. So thank you again so much, Robin. We'll see you at the training.
yay.
Okay. Bye for now.